Settings, motifs, symbols are some of the vocabulary that we always use when we're trying to define a literary genre. And this is what happens with the Gothic. But with the Gothic, the temptation would be to actually try to define motif, all the elements that are inside this motif block, and all the elements that are inside the setting, and all the elements that are in other categories. But this is not what I'm going to do today, even though I'm very tempted, because it's quite confusing and there's a lot of information out there. Symbols are similar to motifs, and anyway, we're not going to go into that today. But what I would like to talk about is actually what are the elements that we have inherited from Celtic literature, from a Celtic tradition, and the Gothic literature has actually continued using, and why that's been that way. And one of these elements that we have inherited from the Celtic tradition is actually the symbol, let's say symbol of the portal, what it means, what happens with portals, and why they're so important in Gothic literature. So today, my friend, in this section, in this little video of Gothic breadcrumbs, I'm going to tell you all about the 8 portals of Celtic tradition that we can see in Gothic literature, and how they work and why they are so important. So get ready, get your pen, get your paper. As always, let's go for it. Welcome to episode 11, and welcome if you're new. I hope that you enjoy this video, and if you've seen the previous ones, that you've been enjoying them so far. And thank you very much for being here, part of the gang. Yes, today I want to tell you about the 8 portals that we see in Celtic tradition, and how many of them, or how they have actually evolved until the portals that we find in the Gothic tradition in literature. So if you remember last day in the previous video, I was telling you about a lot of the Celtic elements that we find when we look at the Wheel of Time. So we're going to continue a little bit from that moment to explain about the 8 portals that I want to talk about today. But before we go into that, just remind you that if you want to have extra information about what we talk here in these videos, are just meant to be little breadcrumbs for you to have some idea about certain specific points in Gothic literature and in the Gothic in general, you can now download, you can go to my webpage, you can go to gothicalice.com and subscribe to my newsletter. You're Gothic but you don't know it, my friend. And if you want to keep learning more about yourself through the Gothic lens, then the newsletter is for you. It's totally free, and I keep you informed every month about everything that's going on in the channel. I expand on topics that you prefer, and there's all the updates of everything I'm doing there. So coming back to what we're talking about today. Last week I was telling you about the Wheel of Time in the Celtic tradition, and how time is important also for Gothic literature. And I always go back in time because I think that this journey of going back to the origin is very important when if we want to analyze the evolution of things, and we want to find through this critical thinking explanations to the things that we still like in our novels, the relevance of them, and actually where they come from. And I've been going as far as the Celts because it's one of the cultures that we also have in Spain. We have the Celtiberians, and a lot of the things that we celebrate around our year, our annual celebrations, are very much connected with a lot of the Celtic elements, and that's why I want to be introducing them or comparing them quite frequently in these videos. So as I was saying, last week we saw that one of the important aspects, or one of the reasons why I was talking about the Celtic wheel, was mainly because of 2 aspects. One, because we see here the time offers this Gothic loop. and also because we have the circular behavior of the ghost. And this is actually something that we see very clearly in the Gothic when we're talking about ghost stories. Remember that the Gothic is not just about ghost stories, but when we do talk about ghost stories, we see this Gothic loop and we see the circular behavior of the ghost connected precisely to this Gothic loop. I also mentioned to you the other day the importance of the in-betweens, which is precisely what we find when we go from season to season, from day to night, from one state to another. So in this case, in the in-betweens, what we have, and these are the two aspects that I really want to concentrate regarding the Gothic, is that on the one hand, portals were magical moments of the year, so this is what we're going to be finding the supernatural, and they also are these liminal spaces where we actually find the supernatural again. So this is a very important piece of information that I want you to remember. I don't want you to forget this. But for you to understand more clearly this connection between the Celtic tradition or these Celtic portals and the Gothic, I'm going to take you first to very basic. I'm going to show you the 8 portals or in the Celtic tradition very briefly in the screen. So let's have a look. On the one hand, we have, and let's start with the month that we're in at the moment, we have that Beltane is the portal that goes from the 30th of April to the 1st of May. And sometimes, yes, we have these two dates. Then the second portal for the Celtic tradition would be Litha, which is on the 21st of June, which is where we're going to be heading towards now, and that's important as well. Then we have, and forgive my pronunciation because I'm not really sure, but we have Lugnasat, which is on the 1st of August, followed by Mabon on the 21st of September. Then we have our famous Samhain on the 1st of November, 31st of October, 1st of November. You see the portal will be between the 2 days. Yule would be the 21st of December, Imbolc the 1st of February, and the Easter, which is Easter, the 21st of March. So what we see here is that now that we have our 8 portals defined, you're going to probably think, well, those are main celebrations, and you probably are as familiarized as I am with Samhain, Yule, and Easter, but the others maybe you're not so much, unless you go into the Celtic Wheel of Time or you come from different parts of the world where you do celebrate like the other celebrations. And this is something that we're going to be working more this year in the future videos, because there are so many connections with the Gothic and the stories that season, ghost stories, Gothic novels, Gothic short stories are so connected that it's unbelievable of the information that we can see there. So where are now our portals in the Gothic? Let's have a look at them as well. So we have that for the Gothic, one of the main things or one of the important portals in the Gothic are, for example, mirrors, but also paintings, elements from nature, trees, water, and so on. Dreams, frontiers like day and night, so what happens between the moment we the day finishes and the night starts, and the other way around too. And also bridges, everything that means crossing over, passing to the other side, a change of a state. That is where we're going to be finding the Gothic. But you have probably realized by now that not all the Celtic portals have been used, or that we have kept all these elements in Gothic literature, and it's true. Although I have to say that probably this will require a lot of investigation and some research that I haven't managed to find anything yet, but that's something I will with time find more information that I could actually provide you with. But what has the Gothic kept? The Gothic has kept 2 main things under my understanding. On the one hand, the elements from nature like trees, water, fire. Mainly now if you think about the month of the year where we now May, there are a lot of May celebrations that involve fire. Also frontiers, like I said before, day, night, all the natural elements. So why is that important? It's important, for example, in the month of May, as I think I was saying to you in the previous video, fire is a very important element that I will develop in other videos as well, all the different individual elements in different stories, because there's a lot of things we can find with fire. But for example, where I come from, we do celebrate this cremation of a devil figure by burning it out near the sea, and everybody celebrates that, going down there with fireworks, and there's a whole tradition behind that. And it's actually, there's a clash between the Lemuralia, the Roman Lemuralia, and something more pagan from the seamen, from the seaside location. So if you want to know more about that, I actually have an article on Medium that I have recently posted, and I will leave the link down here in case you're interested to see my traumatic childhood experience with the devil that symbolizes, like a kind of reborn, cleansing, and you will see. If you want to know more about it, you'll have to read the article. But it's very important, again, that we have these elements that later on, as you will see, the Romantics recuperated in the literature. So why am I emphasizing so much in these portals? Well, in these portals is where we find the supernatural. As I said before, we find our ghosts, we find the unexplainable, we have uncertainty. And as you know, uncertainty is one of the main characteristics of the Gothic. We find the uncanny. Everything that was familiar now becomes unfamiliar, because we've gone from one state to another. It was day, now it's nighttime, and there are different things that happen during those moments before we go to sleep, what happens in our brains. All this is this uneasiness that gets created, and where we find home for the Gothic. So it's basically this. In the portals is where we find the supernatural, at least in literature, and we could even discuss that also maybe in our everyday lives. Although if you are someone that works as a medium, or someone who is in the in-betweens, then we will be talking about a specific character that has a very important relevance, but is not considered like the most common thing, right? Okay, but that's a story for another day. So it is actually, as I was saying before, in the natural, in the elements of the natural, that we're going to find a lot of our romantic writers. For example, Mary Shelley with Frankenstein, which again is borderline between the romantics, because she was in that period of time, but also Frankenstein is considered a Gothic novel because of the dark elements. And then we could be thinking here about a lot of other novels and characteristics and things that have to do with this idea of portal. Right, so this is the breadcrumb for today, my friends. I wanted just to make it really short, very brief, for you just to have an idea of portals. There's actually quite a lot of information regarding the 8 Celtic portals and why they are important. And I want to leave you today with a question. So that actually 2 questions. So I want to know, what is a portal for you? Because maybe I've given you some examples, but maybe for you there are other portals as well. And I want you to tell me novels, films, anything artistic that actually contains portals, and that these portals were actually very important for this series, for these films, or for these books. So please let me know in the comments below here on the video. And if not, you can send me an email to alicegothicland@gmail.com. And remember that if you want to know more, if you want to have more access to more content of this, to learn more about the Gothic, when you subscribe to my newsletter in gothicalice.com, you will have all the information you need for my monthly magazine that will be launched in June. You are Gothic, but you don't know it. It's a magazine for curious minds, for writers, for people who are on a life journey to know more about themselves, and for just curious minds like you. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope that you like it. Don't forget that to support me, you can do various things. You can go to my Ko-fi page, or you can just basically subscribe, ring the bell, I would say ring the bell. Click on the bell so you get notified, or when I'm uploading the next video, that you got a thumbs up. And the same as always, share, tell your friends, tell people that maybe they might like this content and they're looking for something like this. And you are helping me as well to spread the word of the Gothic identity and the Gothic mind. So remember, It's the month of May, there's fire. Next week I'm going to be telling you more about these elements, these Gothic elements in more detail. So until next week, I hope you are very Gothic, my friend. Take care and see you next time. Bye.